Okay, guys, continue with the transitional provisions. Lesser accounting means you are a lesser under old standard India is 17, which is equivalent to your AS 19. Now you are now also same principles, same financially, same operating lease accounting. So you need not do any differentiation as such. But if you are a lessee in the old standard, then you have to see whether you were a lessee in finance lease or operating lease. Suppose earlier you were a lessee under finance lease, anyway you would have recognized an asset and also a lease liability. All you have to do is asset name you have to change it into ROU asset with the same amount, so gain or loss possibility and all will not be there. So that is the second one. The problem comes only when the lessee is a operating lease lessee under old standard, because he was a lessee in an operating lease under the old standard, he would not have capitalized the asset and he would not have recognized the lease liability. But now under India is 116, definitely you need to have a ROU asset and a lease liability. So old accounting as it is continuation, obviously it is not acceptable. Then how to do the transition accounting? Here there are two approaches, sir. Please write. You have written up to here, no, C, lessee operating lease. Under that, if you want again put the heading, lessee operating lease. Under IND AS 17 has two choices of transition to IND AS 116. Choice 1, full retrospective approach. This is easy to understand, sir. It is just like, had you applied IND AS 116 from the very beginning, then what would have been your ROE asset balance now? What would have been your lease liability balance now? These two you have to directly create in the balance sheet. Any difference between them will be adjusted into retained earnings. Calculate ROU asset and lease liability on commencement date of lease by using lessee's incremental borrowing rate on commencement date. So whenever lease transaction you have entered, that is inception date. Actually commencement date means the date on which asset got into lessee's control. On that day, go back into time, work out ROA asset and lease liability balance. For that discounting rate, you have to use your IBR on that date. Sir, IBR on that date is not available, sir. Then obviously choice you cannot apply. Simple. Then you have to see for the second choice. Second point, right? B point. Since there is a change in accounting policy, a retrospective restatement is to be given in financial statements. retrospective restatement ka meaning already we have discussed while doing Ind AS 8. Once again I'm telling you, from the beginning had I applied this standard, how it would have been appearing today, like that you have to present. Not only in the current year financials, even in the last year financials also, which will be given for comparative purposes. Right? Sir, before last year ka effects, all that will be adjusted directly into opening balance of previous year balance sheet. So like that you got to work out. Under this B point only, next line, right? Calculate the ROU asset balance and lease liability balance at the beginning of previous year. And give impact of these in opening balance sheet of previous year. Any difference is transferred to retained earnings. So let's say you are in current year, commencement date is, let us say, 4 years back. So current year anyway you have to apply new Ind AS 116. Last year also you have to apply. But before last year or before 3 years and all, you need not apply directly, sir. On paper you work out directly ROE asset balance, lease liability balance at the beginning of last year amounts you work out. Directly post them in the opening balance sheet of previous year. ROE asset balance, had you maintained Ind AS 116 from the very beginning, lease liability had you followed Ind AS 116 from the very beginning, how much it would have been, numbers you work out, directly post the entry. Entry obviously will not tally because ROE asset number will be based on depreciation, lease liability will be based on ACM, amounts will not tally, gap will come, a gap adjust it into retained earnings. When did you do all this drama, sir? Last year beginning you did. That means once you do this adjustment, last year opening balance sheet lone already now ROE asset, lease liability will start appearing. Thereafter shamelessly apply Ind AS 116 as if you are applying Ind AS 116 from the very beginning. So atla last year restate chesi adi current year comparatively you have to give, current year anyway you have to apply. Ante sir. Full retrospective is actually anywhere, practically it might not be very easy to do in some scenarios, but actually understanding purpose it's very easy. A choice one, sir. Choice two now. Modified retrospective approach. First one is recognize lease liability. Recognize ROU asset. Lease liability ki one alternative only is there. ROU asset ki two alternatives are there. Measure lease liability at present value of remaining lease payments using IBR of lessee on the date of application of NDS 116. I want full retrospective. If you say you can't do that, okay, from whenever you are able to do, from that date you apply, considering the future lease payments, the discounted value. Here you are having two alternatives. Okay, first alternative, easy alternative. Recognize ROU asset at the same amount as lease liability. That means lease liability ki whatever amount you are using, ROU asset also same you use. Either this or measure ROU asset on commencement date. Commencement date means first initial whenever you took lease, that date. Measure ROU asset on commencement date using IBR of lessee on date of application and now recognize the carrying amount of such ROU asset. So what he is suggesting in the second alternative is, you did not want to do full retrospective approach, okay, fine. What you do is, go to the commencement date, that is the date of first lease when the asset came into your control. Go to that date. Our date ki measure ROE asset. So that is full retrospective approach, no? Measuring something on the original date. That is not full retrospective approach because you are measuring this using IBR of the lessee on, not on commencement date, on the date of application. Today's discounting rate to measure ROE asset 3-4 years back, you will get some number. A number will go on providing depreciation till date and today directly recognize the asset in your books. Easy one, this one, sir. You want to do full retrospective, that is also fine. Is second alternative, standard they gave you. Exam purpose you have to learn everything, no? So for that sake you have to learn practically whatever is convenient. What you must understand is, full retrospective approach lo, the discounting rate was IBR on date of commencement of lease. Here that is not. As the entire modified retrospective approach lo, IBR on the date of commencement you are not using. If that only is there, why will I come to modified retrospective approach? Or IBR on the commencement date is not there. If that is there, I would have done that only. So nowhere here they will ask you to work out discounting rate on the commencement date. This is discounting rate on the date of application. Here also same thing. Only thing is, if first alternative low, remaining lease payments you work out present value, that only is ROE asset, just like lease liability. Yes, sir. I didn't get you. Alternative 2 is not for lease liability, only for asset. I didn't get you. Okay. See, the modified retrospective approach, the restatement is not there, sir. So, since restatement is not there, if I cannot measure this lease liability some 3 years back, and I cannot do ACM for that, because liability accounting law, sir, interest rate is the core, isn't it? So, when I am taking and recognizing a liability, at what rate I could have borrowed on that date, ఆ రేట్తోనే liability measure చేయాలి, sir. మరి ఆ రేట్ లేదు కదా సార్ మనకి, ఆ రేట్ లేదు కాబట్టి వాట్ యూఆర్ డూయింగ్ ఇస్ టుడే ఓన్లీ యూ రికగ్నైజ్ లైబిలిటీ అట్ టుడేస్ రేట్. బట్ అసెట్కి లైబిలిటీ రేట్తో సంబంధం లేదు కదా సార్. సో అసెట్ ఐఎమ్ మెజరింగ్ ఫ్రమ్ ఎ రెట్రాస్పెక్టివ్ ఎఫెక్ట్ దర్. లైబిలిటీ అనేది నథింగ్ బట్ ఏ బారోయింగ్. నో, బారోయింగ్ ఎప్పుడు కూడా వెన్ ఎవర్ వి రికగ్నైజ్, ఆ రికగ్నిషన్ ఆఫ్ బారోయింగ్ డేట్కి ఇంట్రెస్ట్ రేట్ యూ షుడ్ హ్యావ్. సో ఇఫ్ యూ హ్యావ్ దెన్ ఫుల్ రెట్రాస్పెక్టివ్ అప్రోచ్ ఎట్లా చేస్తాం సార్? చాయిస్ 1. ఇఫ్ యూ డోంట్ హ్యావ్, టేక్ టుడేస్ బారోయింగ్ రేట్, రిమైనింగ్ ఇన్స్టాల్మెంట్స్తో వర్కౌట్ ద లైబిలిటీ టుడే. అంతేగాని టుడేస్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ రేట్తో 2 years బ్యాక్ బారోయింగ్ క్రియేట్ చేయడం ఈజ్ నాట్ కరెక్ట్. సో దట్ ఈస్ ద లాజిక్ దేర్. ఓకే సార్, దిస్ ఇస్ డన్. దెర్ ఈస్ అ క్వశ్చన్ ఆన్ దిస్, ఐ గెస్. ప్లీజ్ టేక్ అప్ టు పేజ్ నెంబర్ 404, క్వశ్చన్ నెంబర్ 43. Sir, how far this question will come, I do not know. But see, study matter if something is given, it's better you read that and go. And then a retailer lessee entered into a 3 years lease of retail space beginning on 1st April 2017 with 3 annual lease payments of 2 lakhs rupees due on 31st March 18, 19 and 2020 respectively. So it's a 3-year lease basically. The lease is classified as an operating lease under IND AS 17. The retailer initially applies IND AS 116 for the first time for the annual period beginning at 1st April 2019. Okay, nice. That means 1/4/17, 31st March 17, 31st March 17 and 31st March 18, 31st March 18 and 1/4/18 are the same date, and then coming to 31st March 19, which is also 1/4/19. Sir, if this is your timeline, you took the asset on lease here, till now 2 years is over. The asset will have a lease of another 1 year because overall 3 years lease. And first time you are applying IND AS 116 here. So how many years are over already? 2 years are over. If I have to apply the full retrospective approach, restatement I have to do, no? But restatement actually in financials we do only for the immediate last year. But if first year of lease, what you have to do? Directly opening balance sheet of previous year. And opening balance sheet of previous year, which date are the 1/4/18 balance sheet, you have to go and adjust, sir. Basically only that much. First, sir, transition type adjustments. So IND AS 101 standard where first time adoption is there. Our dates you should catch correctly. Once you are having comfort with the dates, some is easy, sir. Some nothing will be there. Read. The retailer, okay, that's okay. The incremental borrowing rate at the date of initial application, that is on 1/4/19, is 10% per annum. IBR he is giving. On which date is he giving? First 2 days. Today's IBR, sir, is 10%. And at the commencement date, it was 12%. Sir, why both are given, sir? If commencement date borrowing rate only was there, why will you do modified retrospective approach? See, sir, this sum is not for real life application. This is for examination testing, sir. That's why they are giving you both the rates, so that both the choices you have to demonstrate and show. That's what objective. The ROE asset is subject to a straight line depreciation over the lease term. Assume that no practical expedients are elected. The lessee did not incur any initial direct costs, and there are no lease incentives, and there are no requirements for the lessee to dismantle and remove the underlying asset, restore the site on which it is located, or restore the underlying asset to the condition under terms and conditions of the lease, all this, even if that line is not there also, that's okay. What would be the impact for the lessee using all the following transition approaches? Full retrospective approach, modified retrospective approach with both alternatives. Both alternatives అనేది ROU asset kun sir, lease liability ఒకటే alternative modified లో. Chalo sir, let us first do full retrospective approach. That is very easy to execute, understand also easy, execution also easy. Do sir. 43. Lease liability on 1417, work out sir. Lease liability is equal to present value of lease payments. Sir, by this date, by the commencement date, how many lease payments are there? 3. So commencement date 1 lakh, 3, 1 lakh, 1 lakh or 2 lakhs, 2 lakhs. Okay, 2 lakhs it is. 2 lakhs into PVIFA. What's the discounting rate? 12% for 3 years. So 2 lakhs into 2.4018, but he took 402, you also take that only. So the answer will match, that's all. You can take 4018, no problem. Multiple and tell. 4,80,400. ROI asset on 1417 is also equal to 4,80,400. ACM table for lease liability. Particulars 1 or 2 and 3. Okay, so here opening balance beginning of first year 4,80,400. To that add interest at the rate of 12% per annum. So 4,80,400, 12% per annum. I'll see and rate 57,648 minus lease payments. First year you paid 2 lakhs. How much is closing balance? 338,048. So receive it, anything is not right. Sir, when you say 4,80,400, that is on which date, sir? 1417. And this 338 chiller, whatever is there, that is on 31st March 18. 338,048 is also now on 1418. On this 12% interest came to 40,566. 178,614. Last year interest, you got to take it as balancing figure. Similarly, ROU asset balance. Opening balance 4,80,400. You just have to provide depreciation. So 4,80,400 divided by 3. And the 160,133. Closing balance. Oh, 320, 266, 267. Huh? Okay. 320, 267, 160,133. The company applies IND AS 116 from 1/4/2019 and onwards in full retrospective approach. We have to restate comparatives of previous year 2018-19 and also adjust opening balance sheet of previous year, that is on 1/4/2018. In the first classes, initial after finishing of India 37, when I told you how India is different from AS, at the time, very high level of true and fair value application will be there, that I told you, and I taught you restatement and reclassification to adjustments. Originally I taught without teaching any India AS. At that time, I took an example where this fellow purchased an investment on which every year 10,000 rupees interest was getting accrued, but he did not account for that for a period of 3 years. Fourth year he realized that one mistake happened. A mistake in how to present it, the rectification part, by doing restatement and all we studied. At that time, it was very, very heavy for you because first time you are listening a restatement adjustment. I know, but that was a time to teach. Without learning schedule 3 also you have to learn that. Because schedule 3 lo there is all these terms, restatement, opening balance, restated and all. So you should know what is that. So at that time that was very heavy. Later on the same restatement discussion we did in India's 8 also, which is accounting policy change, error rectification. Then also second time we did. Now literally you are doing a restatement where there is an accounting policy change because such change in the policy is required by a India's. Earlier I was doing one treatment for leases. Now I am doing another treatment for leases. My policy changed. Why? Because the standard asks me to change. So when I change like this, how to do accounting retrospective with restatement effect, we are seeing now. Now tell me, sir, 1/4/18, what entry you have to write? It's all in front of you. ROS to lease liability, that's all. Amounts. C and tells are good. Had you followed India's 116 from the very beginning, by 1/4/18, your lease liability balance would have been 338,048. Your asset balance would have been 320,267. ఈ రెండు డైరెక్ట్గా 1418కి రికగ్నైజ్ చేసేయండి సార్. ఓకే రైట్. On 1/4/2018, that is in opening balance sheet of previous year, ROU asset account debit 320,267. To leave one or two lines and write to lease liability 338,048. There is a gap coming up. See how much gap is that? 17,781 now. Where will adjust this? Retained earnings. One 418 low when you originally prepared financial statements. A year whatever is the actual retained earnings balance, that number and this number will not match. After making this adjustment, whatever revised retained earnings opening balance you have, that we call it as restated opening balance while doing statement of changes in equity ka comparative version. That's also done. What is it? This is full retrospective approach. Now let's come to modified retrospective approach. Dummy entry, sir. Correct. See, he's asking entry really you will pass. See, really I cannot pass. No, obviously. It was a good question. See, I am actually standing on 1/4/19. 1/4/18 is a past concluded period which is already over, sir. And 1/4/18 low, I did not apply Ind AS 116 only. So if I'm standing here, I cannot walk back in time and go and change my accounting entries and all. I can't do that. It is just for the sake of what you say restatement purpose you have to do. See, actually entry you have to write on which date? This date. ఈ entry ఇవాళ రాస్తారు సార్ మీరు practically in your books, practically speaking. But presentation purpose ki it is as good as you have recorded the entry here. It's just like rectification of error, sir. 4 years into mistake is happening in our books of accounts. Current year you identified. When will you rectify? Current year on rectify chestam, sir. Sir, where will the impact go, sir? Where will it go? Retained earnings it will go. But when you present your financial statements, you will not show as if rectification happened in the current year. You will prepare financial statements as if error was not there at all. And what will you do? Last year ka financial statements last year lo correct it. Before last year ka financial statement lo mistake you correct it. I impact directly opening balance of last year retained earnings you adjust it off. Adi presentation. Accounting only current year lo it will happen. How can I account something in last year when I am already standing in current year? It's impossible like that. Even though I am telling you to write this entry, it is only for the sake of presentation entry, sir. Real accounting will not happen on. How can you do real accounting on 1/4/18 when you are already standing in 1920? Just for presentation. Right. Yes, sir. Please write the heading. Second one. Modified retrospective approach. Sir, in modified retrospective approach, first observation is I cannot do retrospective full. So what I will do is today's IBR I work out. Today's means 1/4/19 ka IBR and remaining lease rents I discount it. Whatever number I get, a number only is lease liability. A number to only ROE asset also I will recognize. That is one alternative. There is another alternative also. Let's first do that. Up to here, IBR of lessee on 1/4/19 is equal to how much did they give you? Check it and tell. 10%. Oh, okay. Okay. In this first point, lease liability is equal to present value of 1419, present value of remaining lease payments. Sir, if I'm standing on 1419, already 2 years is over, sir. There is only one more year. One more 2 lakhs is there. 10%, 1 year. 190909091 unit. 1,81,820. One thing what you can do is, the lease liability pakka e amount ko undal, sir. Now coming to ROU asset. ROU asset ke two alternatives are there. What is alternative one? Just shut up and record ROE asset also at the same amount, close the show. Recognize ROU asset at 181,820, same as lease liability. So write the entry. ROU asset account debit to lease liability. It is directly on 1419 you are writing. Sir, why am I writing on 1419, sir? 1419 is current year beginning now. Array, sir, when you see, go back and remember India is 8. First recommendation is go and do retrospective approach. When you say can't do it, what does the standard say? Array, at least apply retrospective approach from whenever you can. I cannot, sir. Sir. So like that, this fellow, even though he took lease 2 years back, he cannot apply India's 116 from 2 years back. Not even from 1 year back also it seems. Only from today he can apply it seems. So what can we do? Apply from today only. This is an alternative, sir. Alternative 2. Measure ROU asset at commencement date using IBR of application date, which means on 1417 ROU asset is equal to present value of lease payments, which is equal to 2 lakhs into PVIFA 10% 3 periods, 2 lakhs into 2.4618. Okay, 4861. Tell me this number. 489, 487 you take. Not my mistake. 4869 you got, no? 48685 you should be getting. 2.48685. Copy this. What is problem in this? 4 digits ideally should be good, but it's okay. Since I already copied from the answer down there, so I will not change now. Because you are wrong, I didn't have a choice. Okay, now carrying amount of ROE asset by 1419 is equal to 497,400 minus. If 497,400 you would have provided depreciation for 2 years till now. 165,800. So what you will be doing is on 1419 recognize ROE asset at this lease liability already decided amount. Lease liability amount was how much? 181,820. Check the gap. 16020. Over, sir, copied no? Okay. Sir, this is about transition accounting, sir. Okay, now listen here. There is one small introduction which amendment in India is 116 which happened in last year. The amendment has happened because of COVID-19, sir. So it already came in the exam. In fact, this amendment and this relaxation is applicable originally only up to 30 June 2021, which already got over. So ideally, this was supposed to not impact your exams. But what happened is, internationally and also in India, our relief cut date has been extended because they originally thought that 30 June 2021 COVID will go away, all movies will be properly released, but it did not happen. So since COVID did not go away, there was again one more variant and again there were lockdown in many places. They extended the relaxation even up to 30 June 2022. Now what is that relaxation and all? We'll discuss. It's important, sir, exam key, because last time they asked off this question in a hurry because our time was getting over. But now that our time is extended up to 30 June 2022, if some of you are writing in May exam, definitely you can look out for this question. Of course, same type of question last time they asked, again also chance is less, but if this attempt goes away, then they don't get a chance to ask this again. So the last chance for paper setter to ask this, so that way it's important. Put the heading, sir. Amendment. Okay, first I'll show you, sir. This is a very, like in material also I've given this. You not read all that. I'll just summarize it, what is relevant for you. That much if you read, that's enough. Yeah, you can take up to page number 371, sir. A 371 number. Okay. See, sir, because of COVID, you know that many cases low, even government also recommended the building owners and all to forego some of the rent or give some concession and relaxations to the people who are taking the buildings on as a tenant. Because since there is a lockdown, business is not happening. This business is not happening, there is no cash flows generated. But definitely we have to pay rent to the landlord, definitely is a kind of a hardship for all these lessees. So this fact not only lessee obviously will know, lessors also might understand the position of the lessee and may give certain relaxations to the lessee. Tell me, sir, what type of relaxations can you expect? If you are a lessee, from the lessor, what type of relaxations can you expect? Because you are unable to pay rent right now. Sir? One is you can ask him to waive the rent completely. That means monthly I will pay 1 lakh normally, next 4 months ki 1 rupee also I will not pay. So if that lessor is as kind as me, he might agree for that actually. So that is possible. Or instead of completely waiving of 50% or 30%, he might waive off, remaining he might ask you to pay. Or he might say, 3 months you don't pay now, but whatever you have not paid me, that I will recover it in future lease rent. That means at least immediately on you hardship is not there, but in future I will collect the more or less the same rent, because of which at least you can save time value of money and immediately hardship also. So this type of adjustments are being made in COVID, sir. In reality, it's happening. That's why standard had to address how to account for that. Normally, sir, imagine the amendment is not there. What you have to do in this amendment anyway, you don't know, no? So don't worry. The amendment is not there. Applying plain Indian is 116. What's the treatment for this? That's all very good. This is nothing but modification. Future low cash flow should be in one pattern. You and lessor agreed to change that pattern, and you are changing the cash flow or the timing of the cash flow or the amount of cash flow, or subsequently recovering that, sometimes subsequently also not recovering. That means whenever you change the terms and conditions of the original lease agreement, it is called as modification, and a lessee has to go with modification accounting. Modification accounting, what we have to do? Simple. You have to see whether there is a change in the lease term, whether there is a change in the, you have to see, you have to definitely apply a new discounting rate for this, remeasure all your remaining lease payments, work out the revised lease liability today, correspondingly adjust this to ROS. Normally our treatment we do. Of course, I have not discussed the case of decrease in scope, increase in scope, because this is not that. Here basically lease rents which we are talking about. If future lo only lease rents are getting impacted, normal modification treatment is our revised lease rents discounted to today using revised discounting rate. Today one amount will come, compare that with your carrying amount, correspondingly either increase or decrease your lease liability. Impact will be given to ROU asset. This is normal treatment, sir. I am lessee. If I can do that, I will do that only. But what this standard has told you is, if you want, you can skip that modification accounting and you can directly book the waiver as a gain in P&L account. Once again. Easy, sir. Sir, I am not telling you conditions and all. Straight accounting treatment I am telling you. Conditions later on we can read, sir. Conditions and all are labor conditions. I will stupid points. Main accounting you catch hold of it. Sir, I am standing here, sir. In my balance sheet, I am a lessee. What is there already? Lease liability is there. ROS also will be there. Okay, remaining period, so rent, sir. 1, 2, 3, 4 like this. Suppose my lease rents are of this pattern. This is original. How it is modified is, like this it is modified. That means what was a straight lease rent, equal lease rent every year, our lessor has considered us and he charged lesser lease rent now. Later on little more, balance is recovered towards the end. It is like this. Because of that, lessee is getting benefited or not? Yes. Surely yes, because immediate cash outflow is reduced. Now, can you confidently say that the present value of all this will be equal to your carrying amount of lease liability? No. Why? Sir, the moment our cash flow gani, timing gani, you change, your ACM will not work. Your ACM will work if your original cash flows are as it is collected or as it is paid. You go and disturb the cash flows or the timing of the cash flows, lease liability ka accounting will not work under ACM. ఇది financial instrument standard law also we studied, earlier modification also we studied. So definitely you have to do modification accounting. Now, I am a lessee, no? I can do modification accounting. If you say, sorry, amendment I don't want to apply, I will do normal modification accounting. Standard says, congrats, do that. Do. The amendment is not a compulsory amendment. It is optional. The optional, what we do is, look at this, sir. The ledger account I will show, it will be easy for you to understand. Lease liability, suppose, by balance brought down, some 2,48,000 is there. This is opening balance. Current year ending key, I wrote interest cost. Based on your normal EAR, you record some number. Current year ending key, here what I have to write? Two bank have to write or not? For paying the lease payment. Now, suppose normally, originally, payable lease rent is 1 lakh. Lessor told, sir, since you are in deep difficulties, a 1 lakh place low, you pay only 20,000, remaining 80,000 I will forget. Lessor is not going to recover this at a later date also. He is totally foregoing payment. That means 2 bank normally how much should come? 1 lakh. But 1 lakh will come, 1 lakh will not come. What you will be paying? 20,000. And whatever you are not paying, you straight take it into PRL as a gain. This is not what India's 116 told originally. What India's 116 told is, if you make any agreement with the lessor, changing your future cash flows, future timing and all you have to do is lease liability remeasure. Suppose lease liability decreased, correspondingly decrease ROU asset also. Don't take it to P&L. I never told you that remeasurement like something will go to P&L. Never. It should not go to P&L. Lease liability if it is decreasing, correspondingly decrease ROU asset also. Lease liability increasing, correspondingly increase ROU asset also. This is modification accounting what we studied. But this amendment says, don't do any modification accounting and all if you don't want. All you have to do is gain and identify jesi, again P&L is directly. Now, sir, will ACM still work? Yes. Why it will work? ACM will work as long as you debit 1 lakh rupees here. Correct, no, sir? Even if I pay also 2 bank 1 lakh would have recorded, closing balance would have been the same amount. Even if I don't pay also, debit is 1 lakh, closing balance will still be the same amount had I paid 1 lakh only. So ACM will still work, sir. So a gain portion whatever is there, royally recognize that in P&L account. Sir, what if he gave full waiver of 1 lakh? Full P&L తీసుకెళ్తారు సార్ మామాట ఉంది 2 PRL 1 lakh. సార్ వాట్ ఇఫ్ చెప్ సార్ మీరు డౌట్ అడగక్కర్లేదు సార్, నన్ను నేను అడుక్కుంటా కదా. సార్ లెట్స్ సే 2 bank I paid 50,000. ఒరిజినల్ ఈ అబో కేసులో పేయబుల్ ఓన్లీ 20,000 ఫుల్ అండ్ ఫైనల్. వెరస్ హియర్ ఒరిజినల్ 1 lakh, payable only 50,000 now, balance recovered in future lease rents. So future lease rents normally every year 1 lakh kada, 1 lakh place lo 1,15,000 or 1,20,000 he will collect. So whatever 50,000 reduction you got now, a reduction future lo you have to pay. When anyway you have to pay, it will be very wrong of you to take this to P&L account. P&L account eppudu తీసుకెళ్తారంటే సార్ when there is a waiver and future law also it is not going to be recovered, then you should take it as a gain to P&L. If future law is anyway going to recover, taking this to P&L is wrong. Okay, so what should I do? What you do is nothing. Do nothing, leave it like that. Normal I'll tell you to balance carry down. Normally speaking, sir, e place low how much should have been debited? 1 lakh. Now how much am I debiting? 50,000. Because of this, the balance changed off or not? What it should have been versus what is actually there, they both are not same. Ideally your ACM will fail. Actually it fails also. What our standard says is, no problem, apply like that only. Apply like that only. Adhe relief ante మరి. Apply like that only. Sir, it will not tally, no sir. Lastly interest is there, no? అది బ్యాలెన్సింగ్ ఎట్లా బ్యాలెన్సింగ్ ఫిగర్. నార్మల్లీ అది అప్రాక్సిమేషన్ ఎర్రర్కి బ్యాలెన్సింగ్ ఫిగర్. Now because you violated ACM, a difference will come. Our difference also will be adjusted into interest. Sir, 50,000 you will adjust, sir. 50,000 where am I adjusting? Sir, 50,000 ideally I should have debited here, sir, but I am not paying, no. So it not debit. Because of this balance increased. But in future when I pay, ideally 1 lakh should be there. But 1 lakh will not be there. More than 1 lakh will be there. Why more than 1 lakh will be there? Because whatever 50,000 he has given me reduction today, that he is going to collect in future, no. So whatever 50,000 liability increased today, that is anyway going to decrease in the form of high lease rent, sir. Are you understanding, sir? So big difference is not going to come even if you do this also. So these two are the accounting treatment will change. All this when if you don't want to apply the modification accounting. No sir, all this is very irritating. I like modification accounting, I will do. This is an option, that's all. And this option is available only for the lessees, not for the lessor. Lessor came lesser, lessee came. Whenever you select to do this type of accounting, a standard says, go and do a impairment check on your ROE asset. Why? You tell me this. Now that you people are experienced, pro, confident, tell. ROE asset మీద ఇంపైర్మెంట్ చెకింగ్ చేయాలి సార్. వై? ఈజీ వెరీ ఈజీ గెస్. ఇంపైర్మెంట్ టెస్టింగ్ మీన్స్ వెదర్ ఇట్స్ క్యారింగ్ అమౌంట్ ఈజ్ ఎక్సీడింగ్ ద రికవరబుల్ అమౌంట్ ఆర్ నాట్ అనే చెక్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు డూ. What is indicating? See, it's like this. Sir, yes sir? Somebody was telling an answer. అది చెప్పా బెంచ్ కింద అనుకుంటుందిరా చెప్పు. No? Okay, fine, listen. Sir, you are lesser. You gave an asset to me. Ideally, I'm supposed to use the asset, enjoy benefits. Out of that, I'm supposed to pay rent to you. If you have given me a rent concession, that indirectly means that lessor is also convinced that he lessee is unable to use the asset properly and enjoy the benefits out of that. Fair enough. Now asset is not giving benefits, no, here. Asset is not giving benefits, therefore lessee is not enjoying benefits. Therefore lessor also said, you are also not getting benefits, no, so I'll give you a waiver. So all this restructuring of lease rent is happening because lessor is pretty convinced that ఈ అసెట్ నుంచి ఈ lessee is unable to extract the benefits what he normally would have been extracting. Now when asset is not yielding you benefits, there is a doubt that ఈ asset ka value might have fallen down. That is indirectly an indicator. Somebody told indicator correct, but this is how it is an indicator. Sir, if somebody is coming to me and giving me, sir, you need not pay this much of lease rent, ante sir, he also might be knowing that the asset ka value might have fallen down. The asset ka benefits might have fallen down, like that. So for example, the property in which we are running the class right now, it is originally it's a 3-year lease, sir. Last year almost full lockdown, till you people towards the end of last year we conducted a class. Otherwise it was full lockdown, sir. We are paying rent, not normal rent. 50% of the rent we paid. Why he gave the 50% discount? Because there is a lockdown, sir. I cannot conduct a class here. Not only me, he cannot rent it to anybody in that place, correct? At least I am unlucky that I had this building before the lockdown, so that at least he is collecting from me half rent. If I was not there, nobody else will touch this building also in this last 1 year, correct? No, sir, because there is a lockdown, you can't run a class like this. So since the asset is not giving me benefits, I also did not pay much of lease rent. Lessor also convinced with that. Now, in my books you think, sir, I already recorded ROU asset. And the ROU asset is going to be depreciated over a period of 3 years. Out of that 1 year is over. And the 1 year lo benefit I did not receive. Now you tell me how far it is correct for me to depreciate ROU asset equally over a period of 3 years. That's wrong, sir. Endukante when asset is being used, I am enjoying the benefits. Then you say, sir, every year benefits are same from the asset, so I will depreciate it equally over a period of 3 years. But out of 3 years, asal 1 year lo benefit not there. Why asset not used? That means just providing normal depreciation is not correct. You have to even reduce the value of the asset a little more. For that, go and do the impairment check. This is the guidance, sir. Now, sir, if I want to enjoy this benefit, what are the conditions? Conditions, total 4 conditions, sir. I just directly make you write all the timing, just watch in the material. Page number 371, they are there. A, B, C. The change in the lease payments results in revised consideration for the lease that is substantially the same as or less than the consideration for the lease immediately preceding the change. What he is trying to say is, new original lease rents ni you converted this into this modified lease rents. A total modified lease rent should not be higher than original lease rent. If it is higher than the original lease rent, where is benefit there? Where is benefit, sir? Benefit another when will you get, sir? When whatever lease rents I am paying normally, even in the revised term also I am paying the same lease rent or lesser than that, then only benefit. In the revised terms, if I am paying more lease rent, then there is no benefit, no. So the point is, the entire discussion is not applicable for you. So what he is saying in the first point is ultimately to make sure that the lessee is actually getting benefited in this transaction. Next, any reduction in lease payments affects only payments originally due on or before 30 June 2022. Now 2022. Next brackets also change. What he is saying is, whatever reduction in rent you are enjoying now, a reduction in rent or waiver of rent, a rent ka period should be 30 June 2022. Not beyond that. Sir, I received a waiver from rents are monthly 20,000 I need not pay. Like this, I need not pay up to 30th September 2022. That's all. Gone. E particular amendment is not applicable for you. You have to do normal modification accounting. Because technically, according to this particular amendment, COVID exists only up to 30th June 2022. So if you are getting reductions beyond 30th June 2022, you get no problem. That's between lessor and lessee. Then I will say that this is not because of COVID-19, it is because of some other thing. So practical expedient you cannot apply. Go and do modification accounting for that. So according to this particular amendment, they believe that COVID exists only up to 30th June 2022. There is no substantive change to other terms and conditions of the lease. So lease terms and conditions, no big change should not be there. Original lease ki, revised lease ki, substantively change should not come. So substantively means what, sir? Plain language I told you, substantively means something which is considerable, which is important, which is material. Substantive substitution rights ki, we had a condition. Practical ability should be there, economic incentive. At least everywhere substantive and a point is not defined. Our context they defined. E context they did not define. So whether a particular revision is substantive or not it is left to your judgment basically. So how many conditions are there? 3. Now there is a 4th one. In note point a 4th condition. The above practical expedient applies only to rent concessions occurring as a direct consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic. So overall 4 conditions, sir. You enjoying a rent concession because of COVID-19. Number 2, lease payments under the revised terms should be lower or it can be equal to the original lease payments. Number 3, this rent concessions should relate to a period not beyond 30th June 2022 and there should be no big changes to the lease terms and conditions. So if big change is there in the lease contract, then modification accounting you have to ideally apply. Because significantly modified, how can I continue with a small accounting like this? If you 4 points are satisfied, then lessee gets a option to apply this accounting. Accounting they have given somewhere in a single line, sir. Here. The disclosures of that will wait a moment. Anyway, write these points, only 4 points. Please write in your notes. Amendment in India is 116. Brackets, write rent concession. Put hyphen and write rent concessions. Sir, our conditions anyway, we theoretical, sir, we will remember that, not a big deal. But understand the accounting part clearly. Accounting law, normally, our lease liability ka future cash flows, if they are changing, ideally, lease liability has to be remeasured, otherwise ACM will not apply. Our standard says, don't do any modification accounting if you want. What you do is, if it's a case of a complete waiver, throw it off into PRL. If it is going to be recovered at a later date, then just whatever you are paying now or not paying now, just do that and just leave it at that. Don't modify. As it naturally gets adjusted at a later date. Still some gap is there. As the last year low finance cost ki adjust అయిపోతుంది sir. PRL కి వెళ్ళిపోతుంది. ఏమా? yes. ఎవరికి? లీజ్ లైబిలిటీ బుక్స్లో పెరుగుతుంది, రియల్గా నువ్వు పెరుగుతుందో మనకు తెలియదు కదా, అది మనం కాంట్రాక్ట్ చూసుకోవాలి కదా. అకౌంటింగ్లో ఎస్, వాట్ ఈస్ సేయింగ్ ఈస్, ఇన్ కేస్ వేర్ యూ ఆర్ సపోజ్ టు పే 1 lakh, you are not paying 1 lakh, you are paying only 50,000. Because of this, the carrying amount is going to increase. If current year closing balance is increases, next year opening balance also increases. Next year interest cost will charge on this increased amount. Because of that, increased interest cost of next year will increase. Where is the benefit is what he is asking. Sir, here the benefit is not from an accounting perspective, sir. The benefit is from a cash flow perspective. Sir, if somebody is giving me a concession right now and he is going to recover it from me at a later date, what benefit am I getting actually? Ask yourself. No benefit. Time value of money, and moreover, immediate hardship is avoided. So, ఇక్కడ cash flow point of view benefit. Accounting lo gain is, sir, accounting gains and losses are not real gains and losses, sir. Actually speaking, must know that already by now. Sir, you purchased a land, sir, some 30 years back. Our land ka value, our land every year you are revaluing. Today our land almost in your books is appearing at market value only. Today you sell off that land. Small gain only will come. Versus somebody else, same land he also bought, he was maintaining in cost model. At 2 lakhs ki appearing, sir, books low. Today he sold 20 crores, he sold that land. What about his P&L and your P&L? Your gain is real, his gain is real. Both are correct in their own sense. So accounting gain is not to be seen as a real gain, sir. Anyway, right, sir. Due to 4 points are there. Due to COVID pandemic. Pandemic spelling is what? That's not W, sir. It's COVID only. But COVID spelling తెలియనంత సరే కానీ. Lessor and lessee may have agreed on some modified terms like waiver of rent, concessional rent, rent deferral, etc. Ideally, these constitute lease modification and modification accounting has to be applied. Amendment in India 116 provides a practical expedient to lessee for accounting these changes. So this particular amendment is only for the lessee, not for the lessor. Lessor has to do normal modification accounting, whatever is applicable to him. What is lessor's modification accounting rules? Don't know, sir. Think. So you have to treat it as a separate contract if two conditions are satisfied. Other case we have to see whether because of this modification change in the nature of lease is happening or not. If there is no change in the nature of lease, then simply remeasurement, it will be sufficient. Conditions for application of practical expedient. Put it down a remark, sir. And first one, change in lease payments is a direct consequence of COVID-19. So indirectly what he is saying is, even before COVID was there or after COVID went away, then you make any modifications, you are not covered under this practical expedient. So you have to make sure that whatever adjustment is happening in your lease rents structure and all, it's purely because of COVID-19 pandemic. Second one, the new lease payments should be equal to or less than original lease payments. The rent concessions should be relating to a period on or before. This amended date now. The amendment last year only came, but this date amendment recently they introduced. Recent instance for your exam recently they introduced. That's also last year only came actually. There are no substantive changes to lease. Sir, because of this rearrangement, if lease period is getting extended by 1 year or 2 years, then that is a significant change, sir. So in that case, you cannot do this. Last point, sir, which is the accounting point. You don't have any question on the accounting. One question is good theoretical. You have some 4 or 5 questions on this. All 4 or 5 are based on this ABCD points. So even though if modification accounting you are not doing, then what accounting you are doing, are important. But your questions are based on these. One question is there on accounting, that's a good theoretical question. Anyway, you have to learn, no? So learn. If all the above conditions are satisfied, then lessee has a choice to apply. Practical expedient as under. In case of waiver or reduction in lease rent without subsequent recovery. If there is no subsequent recovery, that means really you got a benefit not only in terms of cash flow but in terms of your liability also there is a benefit. So a benefit you recognize it. Lease liability account debit to PRO. In case of waiver, reduction in lease rent with subsequent recovery. So the answer for this is no entry. Sir, then ACM will fail. No, let it fail. No, sir. Sir, modification accounting you go and do if you don't want ACM to fail. Let it fail. That's the entire relief. That's what is the relief they gave it to you. C point. In any of the above case. Check ROU asset for impairment. So above 4 conditions if you satisfy, then this easy accounting you can do and you can continue your lease liability accounting. Over sir, copied sir? No. Why sir? Sir, few questions are there on this practical expedient. Go to question number 47 in page number 408. Yeah, please go to 47th question, sir. Retailer Q leases a store in a large retail mall. The rent payable is 1 lakh per month. As a result of COVID-19 pandemic, Q agrees with the lessor to defer the rent originally due in months April 2020 to June 2020. That means April, May, June ka rents whatever are there, that he is not going to pay, he is going to defer it. It's not a waiver, sir. It is a deferral. That means whatever I am not paying now, in future I am going to pay that. As a part of this agreement, the rent for the periods Jan 21 to March 21 will be increased by 1,10,000 per month, which compensates the lessor for deferred rent as adjusted for time value of money. So normal rent is 1 lakh per month. 3 months rent if I am not paying right now, that means total I am not paying how much? 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 3 lakhs I am not paying. These 3 lakhs whatever I am not paying now, that I will pay in future indirectly. How? In the months of Jan, Feb and March, from whatever the normal 1 lakh rent is there, apart from that extra I have to pay 1,10,000 per month. Like that for 3 months I have to pay. That means overall I am paying 3,30,000. In a way if you observe, Originally, I did not pay 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 lakh, but in future I have to pay 110, 110, 110. That means in future I am going to pay rent which is more than what I would have normally paid. But this more is only to compensate the time value of money. So that is not a violation of your conditions, sir. What are 4 conditions? The rent reduction should be because of COVID-19 pandemic ka direct consequence, number 1. Next, rent reduction ka period should be before 30th June 2022. Here the period is April to June 2020. That is way before 2022, no problem. Okay, the benefit ka period should be before 30th June 2022. The point got satisfied. Number 3, the lease rents in the revised terms should be either equal to or less than the original lease rents. In case if you see, they are actually equal to the original lease rent only. Of course, it's slightly higher. That higher is because of time value of money. That is not a problem, sir. Then last condition was there are no substantive changes to the terms and conditions of the lease. A point also assumed to be satisfied. Whether the rent deferral is eligible for practical expedient if other conditions are met. So yes, of course, all the 4 points are satisfied. So if Q wants, if lessee wants, lessee can apply the practical expedient if he wants. Next. Lessee P operates a chain of restaurants and leases several outlets. Okay. As a result of COVID-19 pandemic, P agrees a rent deferral with the lessor. Under the terms of rent deferral, rent originally due in the period June. Sir, one second, sir. Yeah. Under the terms of the rent deferral, rent originally due in the period July 2021, you make it. July 2021 to December 2021 will be added to rents that are due in the period July 2022 to December 2022. Anyway, what he is saying is July, August, September, October, November, December, under 6 months rent he will not pay. In which year? 2021 he will not pay. Whatever he is not paying right now, that will be recovered when next year, July 22 to December 22 period, whatever normal rents are there, then key rent also you will have to add and pay. He is asking whether this rent deferral is eligible for the practical expedient if other conditions are met. See, sir, you see, based on this information, you can only check only 2 points out of the 4 points. 1 point is because of COVID-19 pandemic only particular negotiation is happening. A point got satisfied. What is the second point? What period low benefit you received? What is the cutoff point for you? 30th June 2022 before work you can enjoy benefits. Here he enjoyed benefit in which period? July 21 to December 21. That is way before 30th June 2022. No? So definitely 2 points only you can verify. Whether lease payments are substantially same or lower, we do not know because lease data is not given. Other terms and conditions data is not there. So out of the 4 conditions you can verify only 2, assuming that remaining 2 are also satisfied, which he is saying that. Then practical expedient definitely he can apply if he wants to apply. Okay, so that's all. Answer also please change, sir. Recovery of rentals, sir, 2022. Here also 22. Study material came after we printed our material, sir. Otherwise, I would have changed it before. Yeah, amendment was there last year also, but whether it will be made applicable for your examination or not, little doubt was there. But now that new study mat got released, updation. Lessee T leases office buildings from a lessor. As a result of COVID-19 pandemic in September 2021, that is, please correct it, T agrees a rent concession with the lessor under which monthly rent will be reduced by 50% per month for 12 months commencing from 1st October 2021. Sir, 1st October 2021 nunchi next 12 months ki every month half rent only you have to pay. Whether this rent deferral is eligible for practical expedient if other conditions are met? Not. Why? Sir, benefit which period you are receiving count? your benefit period is starting from 1/10/2021 to 12 months, sir, which means up to 39/2022. And 39/2022 is a period beyond 30th June 2022. So one of your 4 criteria failed, sir. You cannot apply practical expedient. You have to go and do normal modification accounting. You cannot come up with stupid ideas like, sir, up to 30th June rent I will do practical expedient, then I will do modification. That is wrong, sir. If somebody is thinking like that, it is wrong. You cannot do half of treatment. First of all, a practical expedient given itself is not strictly correct from an accounting perspective. But still, COVID benefit, they accepted that. After COVID also, if you are enjoying benefits, means a reduction is not because of COVID, a reduction is of some other reasons. How can you do this half treatment? You can't do that. If you really want to claim this practical expedient, you can change the agreement like this. Time being, plan the rent deferral only up to 30th June. Claim the exemption. Later on, plan again saying that some other reason. At the time, go and do modification accounting. But if the agreement originally is like this, you can't do anything. Right, next one. So, not permitted to apply. Okay, nice. Next. A lessee is granted a rent concession by the lessor whereby lease payments for the period April 2021 to June 2021 are deferred. So, first observation, period of benefit, is it within our due date? Yes. 3 months are added to the end of the lease term at the same monthly rent, and lessee repays the deferred rent during those additional months. The rent concession is a direct consequence of COVID-19, whether the rent deferral is eligible for the practical expedient. Sir, the condition was given to you saying that the period of benefit, the period in which you are enjoying the rent benefit, that benefit should be within 30 June 2022. When it will be recovered on that, there is no condition anyway. Here, how is he recovering it is not by increasing rent of remaining months. He is increasing the lease period itself by another 3 months. Or 3 months normally rent he will charge. So, whether the 4 conditions are satisfied or not, if you check, COVID-19 and here direct consequence he is telling. Rent, whatever he is not paying now, that rent only he will pay later on. That means same rent only, a point is satisfied. Number 3, benefit should be relating to a period before 30 June 2022, a point also satisfied. The last point, which is there should be no other substantive changes to the terms and conditions of the lease. Frankly speaking, you went and messed up with the lease term here. See, if you are recovering this rent over the remaining period, that is okay. But here it is not like that. You are going and changing the lease term itself to recover this lease rent. Now, whether this is a substantive change or not, we do not know, sir. Because with the limited information we have, 3 months extension, will it be treated as a substantive change to the terms and conditions of the lease? We cannot make any judgment there. Moreover, standard did not define what is substantive. They wrote a big paragraph in your study material. Ultimate conclusion is it is left to your judgment. Suppose, sir, this is a 10-year lease. This is a 10-year lease. Extending it by 3 months won't make much of a difference. But if it is just a 2-year lease and all, then 3 months extension might be significant. Moreover, you also have to see the amount of rents also. So, keeping everything in consideration, you can make a judgment. Here you cannot make any judgment. Study matter what they did in this answer is, there is no explicit guidance on what is considered substantive. Judgment will need to be applied considering both qualitative and quantitative factors. Qualitative means materiality or judgments are like what do you say, 10 years lease period aithe 3 months extension is not a big deal. This qualitative assessment. Quantitative assessment means suppose the rent amounts are small rents, sir. So then there is no big deal. If the rent amount is a very huge amount, then you might consider doing modification accounting instead of doing a practical expedient accounting. That is quantitative assessments. The lessee assesses that 3-month extension at the end of lease term with substantially the same lease payments would not constitute a substantive change. Would not. Adi ee sumlo they took an assumption like this. Ide some other lessee that fellow might treat this as a substantive change. Okay, ee sumlo you don't have any data to take a conclusion, so they took an assumption that this is not substantive change. Since it's not a substantive change, happily you can go and claim the practical expedient. That too optionally if you want. paragraph will please make this 30th June 2022. Here 2021. That's it. Next. Lessee Z entered into a lease contract with lessor L to lease 1500 square meters of retail space for 5 years. It took space for 5 years. Nice. The lease commenced on 1/4/2018 and the rent payments are 1 lakh payable quarterly, that too in advance on 1st April, July, October, January. Each quarter ki beginning lo you have to pay 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 lakh. Z's incremental borrowing rate at the commencement of the lease is 5%. There are no initial direct costs, lease incentives or dismantling costs. Fine. Z's business is severely impacted by COVID-19 pandemic and L and Z negotiate a rent concession. Now on 1st June 2021, you make it, sir. On 1st June 2021, L agrees to provide Z with an unconditional rent concession that allows Z to forego payment of its rent due on 1st July. That means 1 quarter ka rent 1 lakh rupees, Z need not pay at all. It is not deferral recovered at future and all. Straight he need not pay 1 lakh. Forgo, sir, straight forgo. Forgo means full waiver without recovery. What will be the accounting treatment in the books of lessee for rent concessions, assuming that it is eligible for practical experience? Now he is not asking whether he is eligible or not. All last 4 questions were eligibility. Now he is asking accounting. You tell me, sir. Don't read. Tell me answer. That's our answer. Straight, simple. Straight go take it to PRL. Normally you would have written what? 2 bank 1 lakh you would have written. 2 PRL 1 lakh rate and close the show. Here after normal ACM will continue to apply. That's all. Recognize the rent concession as a variable lease payment in PRL. Sir, what is variable lease payment, sir? Read brackets. Record a debit to the lease liability and corresponding credit in the income statement. That is nothing but lease liability account debit to PRL 1 lakh rupees, 1 lakh rupees. Sir, tell me, will ACM continue to work? Because even if you have written 2 bank also, you would have debited with 1 lakh. Now also you are debiting with 1 lakh. So your ACM will work at the same original EIR. What was your EIR originally? Somewhere they told 5%. And continue to accrue interest on the lease liability at the unchanged incremental borrowing rate of 5%. Here after normal 5% will work. No problem. That's all, sir. Question number 52. This is not on this, what you say, COVID-19 amendment. This is normal, independent question. Read. ఇది ఆర్టీపీలో కేమ్ సార్, లేటర్ ఆన్ స్టడీ మ్యాట్లో కేమ్. సార్ దిస్ సమ్ ఈజ్ ఎ ఫారెన్ కరెన్సీ లీజ్ పేమెంట్ సార్. ఓకే, లెట్స్ సీ, ఈజీ ఓన్లీ. Entity X is an Indian entity whose functional currency is Indian rupee. What a joke, sir. Functional Indian entity and functional currency will be Indian rupee. Need not be. In case it is Indian rupee. The normal case. It has taken a plant on lease from entity Y for 5 years to use it in manufacturing process, for which it has to pay annual rents in arrears at the end of the year of $10,000 every year. So every year $10,000 have to pay. On the commencement date, exchange rate was 68 rupees. The average rate for year 1 was 69, and at the end of year 1 the exchange rate was 70. The IBR, incremental borrowing rate of entity X on commencement was 5% per annum for a US dollar borrowing. Sir, why US borrowing rate gave? Because my cash flows are in US dollars. So if I make a borrowing from a US bank, at what rate I can borrow? Our discounting rate they gave you. Sir, dollar cash flows ni Indian discounting rate to you are not supposed to discount, sir. That's what you learn in a chapter called as International Capital Budgeting in SFM. Local cash flows, local discounting rate. Foreign cash flows, foreign discounting rate, like that. How will entity X measure the ROU asset and lease liability initially and also at the end of year 1. Sir, easy version is, forget that this is a foreign currency problem. You are Indian company, for 1 second you forget. Quickly work out present value of lease liability. How to work out? How many 10,000s are there? 5 years, no? 5 10,000s are there. Discounting rate is 5%, no? Directly discount it. Your present value also will be in which currency? Dollars. Present value means today's value. Today's exchange rate is spot rate. Spot rate, the multiply is sent, sir. So directly you will convert the entire cash flows into rupee terms. First what you have to do is to work out PV of lease payments in dollar terms. PV means present value as on today. Multiply that with today's spot rate. Today's spot rate is how much, sir? 68 rupees per dollar. Danta multiply is sent, sir. Directly you will get lease liability in rupee terms. Go and write ROE asset, go and record lease liability. Going and doing every year conversion is waste of time, and you can't do that also in this sum. That fellow unnecessarily complicated, sir. What he did, you see. Asal first of all, table is not required. The annuity factor to one line you can compute. Still he drafted table. Okay. After drafting table, if 43,300 directly he should multiply, no? No. Every year he multiplied. Either way answer will be same, so we don't have any issue with that. So this is the initial recognition of your ROE asset and lease liability, sir. Okay, now listen here. Don't see the answer, watch here correctly. ROU asset to lease liability. Amount is how much? 29,44,400. Sir, tell me, your liability is actually 29,44,400 rupees. Is your liability 29,44,400 rupees? Is that your real liability? No, your liability is this. Your liability is $43,300. That is payable in cash only. Since it is payable in cash only, that is called as a monetary item. If you don't remember AS11, congrats. It's called as a monetary item. All monetary items on the balance sheet date have to be remeasured at the closing exchange rate. We use the word restated also casually, but restated in a word you should not use. Remeasured. Why not restated? Restated comparative columns and all you have to touch. Will you do that? No, just remeasurement. Remeasurement using what rate? Closing rate. What is the closing exchange rate? First year ending, sir? 70. So from 68, a liability which is presently measured at 68 rupees per dollar in your books has to be remeasured at 70 rupees. So 2 rupees extra, sir. 2 rupees means how gain or loss of that is? Dollar rate increase, sir. Have a dollar liability. Loss. How much loss? 2 rupees loss. So a 2 rupees loss you have to account for foreign exchange loss also, sir. But there is one more thing here. This is not a plain liability. No, you have to apply ACM for this. Do this, sir. In your notes, you do. Small sum only. No, do it off. You'll have a. Actually, after doing India's 21, it would have been better. But anyway, do it now. Lease liability at beginning of year 1 is equal to present value of lease payments, which is equal to 10,000 into PVIFA. What is the discounting rate? 5%. 5%, 5 years. 10,000 into 4.33 you should get. Otherwise, our number will not come. Our company name is Entity X. Entity X is having functional currency of rupees. Therefore, accounting to be done in rupees. Apply spot rate. $1 equals to rupees 68. So first day lease liability ROE asset both will be measured at $43,300 into 68 rupees per dollar. Dollar will die. Effectively, your number will be 29 lakhs 44,400. Once check that number. It RTPL came, sir. Later on, they added this in study material. Okay, question. Not a very great question, but not a bad question either. So this is at beginning of year 1. Now at end of year 1. ROS depreciation you leave. That anyway normally we can do. That's not a big deal. Lease liability accounting you tell me. First year ending. You have to apply ACM, no? Right? ACM entry is what? Year ending. If you are applying ACM, first year ending, what accounting will you do, sir? Interest expense account debit to lease liability. ఎంత amount? 5%. But a 5% is dollar borrowing. A 5% din is a wrong answer, sir. That's wrong. You should not do that. What you got to do? Prepare an ACM table in dollar terms. Interest will come in that. Interest ni convert into rupees and then write the entry. Are you understanding, sir? Half of it, give me 5% good, sir. Wrong. This is not your borrowing amount. This is converted, translated amount. The borrowing is $43,300. So, ACM table for lease liability. 1 year only you draw. They ask only 1 year accounting. In dollar terms. Year 1 alone. Opening balance. How much is that? 43,300 currently. Plus interest at the rate of 5%. 2165 minus lease payment. First year overall you put together will pay only 10,000. So closing balance 35,465. Dollar. So tell me guys, interest expense scheme you will apply which rate? Opening rate, closing rate, average rate. Because throughout the year, no, so average rate you have to apply. So interest expense measured at average exchange rate of, how much is that average exchange rate given? 69 rupees. $1 equal to rupees 69. Therefore, interest expense rupee terms low, it is $35,465 into rupees 69 per dollar. 149 385 rupees. ఏమైందమ్మా? Interest expense account debit. Okay, interest expense account debit to, what's the answer? Lease liability. This is not right now. I saw and I wrote, did not compute. Okay, here 2165. You are right. Then I was also right. 149 385. You are right, sir. You are also right. Not you. Not you అని చెప్తుంటే. Okay. Then during the year you will be paying lease rent also. How much rent you are paying? $10,000 you are paying for payment made of $10,000. This when are you paying? Year ending. So closing rate you take. It's not measurement, sir. It's any actual cash flow. $1 is equal to how much? 70. Yeah? 70. So $10,000 would mean rupees 7 lakhs pay. Lease liability account debit 2. Bank. What you do is check the balance in your lease liability account. Now carrying amount in lease liability account is equal to, originally we recognized 29 lakh 44,400 plus you added 149,385 minus now you removed 7 lakhs debit. 1 second, 23 lakhs 93,785. This is what is presently there. But what you want is not this. What you want is closing exchange rate to remeasured liability. Value of lease liability after remeasurement at year 1 is equal to, what is the closing balance according to foreign currency balancer? 35,465. Oh, right, $35,465 into 70 rupees. 24 lakh 82,550. That means your book value, which is presently this, has to be updated to this. Therefore, increase in lease liability due to exchange fluctuation. This you can do it in another way also, but this is only the easier way compared to that. $88,765. For this also return entry. Exchange loss, of course, PRL will go to lease liability. The India is 21, which is your forex standard, and 116 curve combined question. It's a good question. There's nothing there in this. Copied, guys? Right. Sir, I hope you have understood. Actually, India is 21. Once it is over, you will understand it better in case you have any confusion regarding the currency rates and all. But it is basic, sir. Initial recognition will be done at spot rate. Monetary item should be remeasured at closing rate. Year between the expenses incomes will be measured at average rate. Basically, you should be knowing this. So I don't think you have any issue with this. But anyway. Okay, 53rd question, sir. Please, entity X lessee entered into a lease agreement with entity Y, lessor, to lease an entire floor of a shopping mall for a period of 9 years. The monthly lease rent is 70,000. To carry out its operations smoothly, entity X simultaneously entered into another agreement, which is a facilities agreement with entity Y for using certain facilities owned by entity Y, such as passenger lift, diesel set, generator set, power supply infrastructure, parking, etc., which are specifically mentioned in the agreement, for a monthly service charge amounting to 1 lakh. Printing error, I'll check once. No, that's all. That's correct only. No, 1 lakh only, that is. Continue. Hare, what can you do, sir? That's how they agree. As per the agreement, the ownership of facilities shall remain with entity Y. Sir, what you wrote in your contract is irrelevant if you remember. Sir, this is a contract where there is a lease component, which is a building, floor of a building, and then there is a non-lease component also. When you have a lease and a non-lease component, what are you going to do? You are going to split the overall consideration in the ratio of standalone selling price. So what you wrote originally in your contract, amount becomes irrelevant. No. What will I do? 70,000 and 1 lakh. Both put together 1,70,000. 1,70,000 I will split it in the ratio of standalone selling price. So then whatever is the correct number for building, that will come against building. What is the correct number for facilities, that will come against facilities. So even though you write rent as only 7 rupees and balance completely you park as service charges also, still doesn't matter, because anyway we'll split it in the correct ratio. Please read. The facilities agreement clearly specified that it shall be coexistent and coterminous with the lease agreement. Coexistent and coterminous means they both are not independent agreements. The moment lease terminates, a second agreement also is gone, sir. That means even though physically they are two separate legal contracts, but for all substance they both are a single contract. So a single contract law, you have a lease as well as a non-lease component. Like that you have to interpret. The facility agreement shall stand terminated automatically on termination or expiry of lease agreement. That already he told, co-terminus ante adi. Anyway, entity X has assessed that the standalone price of lease agreement is 120,000 per month, and standalone price of facilities agreement is 80,000 per month. That means SASP rates they are given 120 for floor building, which is building. Facilities kit is 80,000. So that is how much, sir? 3:2. A ratio you have to split, sir. Okay. Entity X has not elected to apply the practical expedient of 116 to not separate lease components from the lease components, and accordingly it separates non-lease components from lease components. What does it mean? You have a choice. What choice you have? Entire 1,70,000 whatever you are paying monthly can be treated as a lease payment, and correspondingly ROA asset you can create. But this fellow says, no, I'm not doing that. So what he is supposed to do? 117 he has to split it. In what ratio? 120 is to 80 ratio. When you split like that, the numbers will come as monthly 102,000 and 68,000. 102,000 and 68,000. One portion of 102 portion is your rent portion. Service charge portion is 68,000. A service charge 68,000 will go to PRL as an expenser. A 102,000 will be considered for computation of your lease liability. Small mistake they have done, but it's okay. I can undo the mistake if you want, or we'll continue like that also. Then also it's okay. We'll undo the mistake. First tell me what is the mistake. Chappan sir, what is the mistake? Choose the little. Sir, our rent what they gave in the question was per month, but calculation చూడండి ఏం చేశాడు, అది పర్ ఇయర్ రెజ్యూమ్ చేసి చేశాడు సార్ సంబంధం. ఇట్లా మీరు చేసి ఒప్పుకుంటారా సార్? ఎగ్జామ్లో ఒప్పుకోడు, అసలు కొట్టేస్తాడు. వాట్ యూ డూ ఈస్, సార్ either see, if you start treating this as months, no, ఈ పేజ్ won't be sufficient to solve the sum, because అది 10-year lease, 9-year lease, monthly 12 months. ఏం సార్? బట్ అది మీరు చేయరు కదా సార్, ఎందుకంటే యాన్యుటీ ఫ్యాక్టర్తో సింగిల్ లైన్లో తీస్తారుగా, టేబుల్ వేసి అంత కాదు కాబట్టి. సో యాన్యుటీ ఫ్యాక్టర్తో 1 లైన్లో ఆన్సర్ తెచ్చుకుంటాను సార్, ఇదంతా ఎందుకు చేస్తాం చెయ్యం. But anyway, to match with his answer, basically, question lone a monthly lease rent will make it into yearly lease rent. Let's see. See, I copied from RTP, I guess. Let me check once. No, sir. The study matter there. 9th question. 8th question. Make it annual lease rent, sir. Make it annual lease rent. Where is it? Here. Somewhere else also. That's it. That will do. RTP it was a mistake. Study material they corrected it. This 8th question study material correctly printed. 68,000 will go off to PR also, service charge. One small point if you write standard you can comfortably closer in your notes. Just write. It's not very relevant, but now that we have done so much, last one point also you can write. Sir, you guess and tell me. Balance sheet la ROE asset where will you show? Asset side I know. Where? Sir, you can show it separately as one heading called as ROE asset like that, or you can silently group it under whatever category it belongs. For example, balance sheet asset side you have PP and all. Suppose whatever asset you took, it's a PP for you. Group it under PP only. Don't show it separately as a ROE asset. Notes to accounts, so go and explain. EPP lo 20 assets are there. In that 19 are owned assets. One is a ROE asset. Our details notes lo you give. Or on the face of balance sheet directly go and call it as a ROE asset directly. But one exception is there. If your ROE asset is an investment property, means I have taken a land and building on lease, which again I am subleasing it. So I am an intermediate lessor basically, and therefore I have an ROE asset in my books, and this ROE asset is an investment property for me because I am having a land and building which is held for earning rental income again. ఈ ROE asset మాత్రం కంపల్సరీగా you have to display it as under the heading of investment property. దీనికి separately presentation is not allowed. Rest all other assets ki no problem. Now coming to P&L account. P&L account lo what impacts you will have is lease liability with every year finance charge will be there and nothing but our interest cost. ROE asset you will be having depreciation. That's all. This you are not, there is no offsetting clubbing and all you are not supposed to do. Suppose next another case. I am a lessee. I took the asset on lease which again I have subleased it to somebody. Since I am a lessee, lease related finance cost depreciation will be coming in my P&L account debit side. But since I again subleased this asset to somebody, imagining that sublease also is an operating lease, now whatever lease rents I get, our lease rents will be shown as an income in P&L account. You are not supposed to do any offsetting and all there, not allowed. Sir, overall there is an income, there is an expense, you are not the legal owner anyway and you should not net off and all. India's one law what we study is offsetting is not permitted unless any standard allows it to do so. So no standard, the standard is silent, don't do any offsetting, sir. So imagine, sir, you are a intermediate lessor. Ante ee asset leased asset, again you subleased it to somebody. And ఈ sublease lo whatever lease you entered, that is an operating lease, which means whatever rents you receive, that you will show it as an income in P&L. But original lease lo you are a lessee. Therefore, you would have recorded a ROE asset and a lease liability. ROE asset means the depreciation, lease liability means interest expense will come to hit your P&L debit side. If sublease or rental income will come to your credit side. Offsetting not allowed. Individually you have to show. That's also, that's the only guidance given. Quickly write. Sir, did I make you write the treatment of initial direct costs? Okay, fine. Then it's okay. Sir, lessee ke you are discussing, lessor ke you are not discussing, sir. Are sir, lesser, there is nothing to discuss. Because think lesser books accounting, you yourself will get an idea. Lesser books lo what will be there, sir? If it is a finance lease, asset anyway will not appear, asset you will remove. Asset place lo what will come? Lease receivable will come. Lease receivable financial assets, sir. And along with the receivables you will show. Loan given like you have to show financial asset. If it is an operating lease, as a lease receivable also will not be there, normal asset only will be there. That anyway will be there wherever it has to be. Machinery, machine PPL it will be there. Investment building, investment property it will be there. So lesser there is no big significant consideration presentation. But lessee it will be there. So right sir, presentation for lessee. Number 1, in balance sheet. In balance sheet is a heading, sir. Heading means like that you write. ROU asset can be presented separately or may be included along with other owned assets. Of course, it's implied. Disclosure have to again give. ROU asset, which is an investment property, shall be presented as investment property in balance sheet. That means don't call it as ROU asset. And accounting lo you call, balance sheet lo call it as investment property only. For other than investment property, both choices are there. C point. Lease liabilities can be presented separately. Means separate line item you show. Lease liabilities. Or can be included with other borrowings. Sir, once remember and tell me, the entire standard law anywhere OCI is there? OCI impacts not there. Anywhere OCI impacts are not there. Everything will go only into PRL. Okay, in PRL, only one point, sir. Depreciation and finance cost have to be presented separately. Any lease rents received in a sublease transaction shall be shown as income separately. No offsetting, sir. Offsetting gun, clubbing gun not allowed. Why not, sir? అసలు depreciation financing cost రెండు ఆఫ్సెట్ చేయడం కుదరదు సార్. Both are expenses only. How will you offset? You can only think of clubbing them. That also is not allowed. Reason you already know. Face of P&L account low, expenses headings low, finance cost is one head, depreciation amortization is another head. How can you club these two expenses, sir? You separately only you have to present. You think it is over, but no. Oh. In statement of changes in equity. Wrong answer. As a statement of changes in equity, lease ఎందుకు వస్తుంది సార్? నేను చెప్తే మాత్రం ఎట్లా రాశారు మీరు? అదే మీరు స్లో అవడం వల్ల మీకు అడ్వాంటేజ్ చూసారా? ఓకే, టెల్ మీ సార్, క్యాష్ ఫ్లో స్టేట్మెంట్లో హౌ మెనీ హెడ్డింగ్స్ ఆర్ దేర్? 3 షూరా, పక్కానా? ఫస్ట్ వన్ ఈజ్ తర్వాత ఫైనాన్సింగ్ అనా, ఇన్వెస్టింగ్. నెక్స్ట్ వన్ ఫైనాన్సింగ్. నౌ యూ పీస్ఫుల్లీ థింక్ అండ్ ఆన్సర్. ఎవ్రీ ఇయర్ రేట్ లీజ్ పేమెంట్ టు బ్యాంక్, అది క్యాష్ అవుట్ ఫ్లో ఓన్లీ. Where will you show? Operating, investing, or financing? Whoever told operating are still, after India's 116 is over, you are still living in old standard thinking that what I paid is rent. Rent paid operating activity in the own sir and a casual, stupid, cheap, wrong approach you are thinking. Wrong. Hopeless people. RO you said to lease liability and you are writing a lease liability with every year you are doing unwinding of discount. ACM you are applying. Adi borrowing rababu already I showed you. Borrowing repayment you will call it as operating activity. Financing enduku sir time pass chestadu. Financing activity you have to show, right? Chi. Payment of lease liabilities. Payment of lease liability is an outflow in actual outflow. I did not write, but still some people will be there. Sir, ఆ లీజ్ లైబిలిటీలో ప్రిన్సిపల్ పోర్షన్, ఇంట్రెస్ట్ పోర్షన్ బోత్ ఆర్ దేర్. నో సార్, వేర్ విల్ దే గో? బోత్ ఆర్ ఫైనాన్సింగ్ ఓన్లీ. ఇఫ్ యూ వాంట్ టు షో separately, there is no problem. Split and show. Every interest cost you write now, interest cost portion you split it, that interest. Remaining is principal repayment. Separately also you can show like that. Next. Anyway, A bit successfully you spoiled, but after I explaining you realized, okay. Now next one. Don't spoil this. What is this is? Sir, I am paying variable lease rent based on usage. That means asset production units based on the extra rent I have to pay. And this is not a lease payment. Correct? No? Lease payment definition low. Variable rent is included, which is based on index or market interest rate, not based on usage, production, sales, customers and all. But in the contract, such lease rent is also there under the contract. But India's 116 lease payment, lease liability calculation will not include that. What is the accounting treatment for that? Directly throw it in PRL. Cash flow statement lo where? Sure? Pakkana? Operating activity only. Okay, fine. Coincidentally, you are right. Variable. You fix it that for everything operating, if you say one or the other one will click. Variable lease payments based other than on index oblique market interest rate are presented operating last one, at least this one you tell correctly. First one wrong, second one fluke lo correct. Okay, see one thing and tell. Sir, listen sir, I am a lessee who claimed exemption from normal India's 116 rules because it's either a short term lease or it is a low value asset. So what will I do? Whatever lease rent I pay, I straight P&L I will debit. No ROI asset, no lease liability. Cash flow where will you show? Operating only. Some people are thinking investing variety చెప్తామని. There is no liability, no? So operating activities. Right. Lease rents paid by lessee where lessee has elected exemption from IND 116 brackets, right? Otherwise you will be thinking short term lease or low value assets. Sir, copied? That's all, guys. Over. So that lease stand is also done. You can leave also.